Yeah, I'm excited, man. Jump into it.
Good deal. Okay, so I didn't catch your last name, Rob. What's your last name?
Rob Hampton, like the hotels.
Gotcha. Okay. Robert McClellan. So nice to meet you,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, good to meet you.
One of the reasons why I wanted to jump on and have this interview with you is because back when my channel was still sort of in its fledgling stages, there were a few companies that I reached out to that actually gave me a chance whenever I didn't have 79,000 subscribers. So that's super cool that you guys over at Rockstock, seen the value in the channel and immediately jumped on board and helped out. In fact, I still have to this day, this pedal right here.
Awesome.
This is the white version actually. So, for those of
Yeah.
you that don't know, one of the things that Rockstock actually specializes in is utility pedals. Could you tell us a little bit about why specifically you chose utility pedals and what those utility pedals that you have to offer?
Yeah, totally. So, kind of when I got into the like guitar accessories game, if you will, what I noticed was there's tons of amazing effects pedals and effects pedal builders out there, but there's not a ton of very like utility based auxiliary, like solve the problem more than uh, manipulate your sound.
Yeah.
And to me that just looked like a really cool opportunity. And I'd also been, for a long time kind of customizing things for my own rig. And so when I noticed that, it's like, okay, I think we could really have something here. I actually didn't start Rockstock. I actually bought Rockstock from two other guys who are actually great effects builders, Ryan and Steve. And I met them at NAM, man, at this point, probably 5, 6 years ago. And I had been doing some freelance marketing for them. And so when they decided they were going to close up shop, they had one utility pedal. Everything else was effects, but they had the bright switch, which is
Uh,
a USB lamp that will light up your pedal board or your set list while you're performing. So that those two ideas kind of married this concept of, hey, let's really focus on the utility side of guitar accessories.
Very cool. So I actually, just before we hopped on the stream here, I was actually looking at the bright switch. It's still an option too on the website. So
Yep.
um, the cool thing about this, if you guys have not checked this out, by the way, is the bright switch is not just a USB light, but you can actually charge your phone from it as well. So, and the cool thing is it blends in with the pedal board. It looks like it belongs on the pedal board. It doesn't just, it doesn't look like some extraneous like extra there, but it actually looks really cool. It blends in with the pedal board. And if you're in a dark setting, like with most of us who are playing live in gigs or anything like that, it's usually the settings are a little bit darker. And so if you need to see controls to make, manipulations to your sound or whatever, it's a great option. So very, very cool for that. Um,
Thank you.
this particular pedal here. So for those of you that don't know, it's probably kind of hard to see on the screen. But this pedal is what's called it's a dual switch pedal. There's only one input on the back, and I'll try to see if I can get a better, my camera's not the greatest at, there we go.
Yeah.
So there's one, 1/4 inch input on the back, and then there's these two right here on the front. And I've heard a lot of ways that these are actually being utilized. What's sort of the most common utilization of this pedal that you've seen, at least from your side of things?
Yeah, number one use case that we get is people using it with Line 6, the Stomp HX, or HX Stomp rather.
Mm-hmm.
Really, there's dozens and dozens of different pedals that you could add it in as an auxiliary pedal, but everybody loves the HX Stomp from its size standpoint as well as relative affordability, right? And
Right.
so given the ability to expand it by two more switches for a really affordable price has definitely been made that probably like the top use case.
Awesome. And so they're using this for like a bank up, bank down, going through various different.
Yep. Yeah, you can assign it basically however you want. The HX menu gives you some pretty good flexibility and customization there. So, if you wanted to have it be your tap tempo, if you wanted to have it, or maybe you wanted to dedicate the channel that you would normally be having your tuner to press and hold, but you don't want to waste the flashing LED on that tuner spot, you could throw a tuner in there, any number of things. Yeah, bank up, bank down, scene change, etc.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and we
So,
also make just a single switch version that is just designed as a tap tempo. So there's lots of different delay pedals that you want to be able to tap in the tempo, but it doesn't come built in. But a lot of builders will just add that TS input jack that you can then add a tap tempo after the fact.
awesome. So you guys should see on screen right now, I'm showing you the one he's talking about here. It's the tap tempo. Here's the dual switch that I was just showing you guys. Here's the bright switch, and they also have a really cool nano tuner. That's super cool. So the dual switch, it sounds like to me, offers you more versatility, but if you just need only a tap tempo, they have that option too. And this thing is like teeny tiny. That's super cool.
Yep. Yeah. So the dual switch is like the size of your standard like poly tuner, if you're familiar with that. Generally consider like in the tiny tuner or tiny pedal size. But then the tap tempo as well as the nano tuner are both more or less roughly half that size, which would be equivalent to about a quarter the size of like your standard Boss TU2 tuner, kind of like the most common size for guitar effects pedals. I feel like it's about a quarter of that size.
Very cool. Very cool. So
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed over the idea of like how small can we get stuff? How many, because so many of us have so many pedals. Like, how do we pack them all in on one spot? We've done the same concept through cables, where we have super thin line cables that allow you to fit more pedals on a pedal board because of that. So yeah, I think I've just been really obsessed over the last couple of years of just like, how do we make stuff smaller, particularly in the realm of utility stuff. We don't need it to be that big.
right, right. And that's the cool thing is too, like, so I've got some of your patch cables here, and I know that's not going to focus. You guys are just gonna have to get on the website, check these things out. If you haven't watched my recent pedal board video, every single cable connection that was on that pedal board was a Rockstock cable. And they have 3 different sizes, at least that I had. It's sort of a shorter size, a mid, and then an extra long one. Do you only have the 3, or is there, I think there was another one, wasn't there?
No, we've got, I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't because we've expanded it now. We've got a 4-inch, a 6-inch. We just added a 2-inch, but I think we're sold out. A 12-inch and an 18-inch. I think that's it for the TS line. But then we've also just a few months ago launched a TRS line that has I want to say 12, 18, 24, and 36. But don't you'll have to fact check me on that.
Cool. So yeah, I'm checking out the website right now, and yeah, the other cool thing is they have this C shape, and then they have an S shape. So for any of you that have OCD issues like myself, those S-shaped cables can really come in handy when you're trying to get a particular cable to fit in a particular spot, but you don't like the flat patch cable looking twisted. I know that sounds crazy, but yet again, OCD is a thing. So whenever I'm building the pedal board, I was actually, you guys had actually sent me several different variations, and I was I was like thrilled to know that I had both the C and the S, because yet again, it doesn't make a huge sonic difference, but looks wise, when you look down at your pedal board, like you want to see this, it should look like a piece of art. And the fact that I can look down and see this awesome little RockStock label on the back of my pedals without any like weird anomalies going on and twisted cables and stuff like that, that's super awesome. I mean, I know that's not like a game changer right there, but if you are a pedal board builder, if you're a guitarist and you like building pedal boards, you know exactly what I'm talking about, how awesome that feature is, just to have those 2 different options there. So
there's something about, just like going into a clean studio space, right? Like you feel so much more creative, and like to me, it just feels like when you walk into a clean studio, even going on stage, like walking onto a clean stage versus a messy stage, there is just such a difference in your experience. And so I feel like it's the same concept through our gear, right? When it's just like meticulously wired, it speaks to the same level of excellence that we hope to be performing with.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point right there too. And I love the fact that you just used that word excellence. I was just talking about that the other day with some musician friends of mine, and they were talking about specifically like leading worship and how that we need to, you know, blend in excellence with that. So in this case right here, like all the products that I've seen, and I haven't seen your full line of products as of yet, but like this right here, it's powder coated. It's got an excellent build on it. Your cables are, I'm not going to say indestructible, because there's going to be someone out there that will destroy these things. And even over time, maybe eventually I'll destroy one, but they're very, very sturdy. Like, and the fact that I plugged every one of them in and they worked, that's huge. I've actually got patch cables from, you know, like Ernie Ball and bigger companies where I've plugged in the patch cable and it didn't even work. And I'm like, really? So that speaks a lot to the quality aspect of things. I'm curious. So you said you bought the company from Ryan and Steven?
Yep.
Okay. So was that by any chance, was that Ryan Furr?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. How do you know Ryan?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh boy.
we have someone in the office here, so to speak, from the Beardly Creative clan. So this get up that you're seeing right here, Ryan actually he came and helped me to design my studio to look better for camera.
Oh, awesome.
So we've worked together, and I've actually been on his podcast for the channel. He lives like right down the road, so to speak, from me. So super nice guy. So, and actually I remember seeing your pedals, well, their pedals, in his studio. So I was like,
Yep.
I've got some of that guy's patch cables. And he was like, oh yeah, they're super cool. So he didn't tell me the whole backstory. So now it's like, it's all kind of like coming together.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Full circle.
interesting.
That's awesome.
Interesting. So yeah. And if you guys haven't checked out, Beardly Creative's YouTube channel, you got to go and check this guy out. He's got some awesome stuff. But I digress. So what inspired you to purchase this company and then to get started in creating these kind of pedals? Was there a specific reason why you did it, or?
Yeah, it's one of those things where like a lot of times, at least in my life, I didn't make a plan. It just kind of ended up this way. Just a series of events, so to speak. So try and figure out how to make a long, all over the place story shorter. So I've been in music ministry for many, many years, and I had an idea at this point probably 10 years ago. I was leading worship, and I had the idea for a Bluetooth foot controller to control my tablet while we were performing.
Nice.
So we didn't, I guess, a little more context to that. I had just transitioned from one church to another and gone from, you needed to memorize your music. You couldn't have any sheets on stage, to the new church, much, much longer sets. And that became a little bit big of an ask, especially with so many people just volunteering every single week. So I started saying, all right, well, let's just move to tablets because it'll be cleaner and less paper is good too. Let's see, I think this is 2016. Yeah, so 2016 did a Kickstarter and launched the Stomp Bluetooth foot pedal page turner under the brand Coda Music Technologies. Through that, I met Ryan at NAMM and started helping him out with selling on Amazon. And so just one thing kind of led to another. Wow. And here we are.
Dude, that is crazy. That's awesome. So basically you've seen a need, and it was a viable need that not only you've seen others were needing, but also you were kind of fulfilling your own need as well. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, that have created anything online or any kind of product, it seems like for the most part, it's like, I seen this thing that I really wanted to do, but I couldn't do it at the time. So I created this product, and lo and behold, people needed it. So it's super cool to see that backstory sort of unfold. which leads me then to sort of this question of where do you see the future of guitar pedals evolving, and how do you think Rockstock is preparing for that?
Ooh, that's a good question. A scary question.
I know, right?
Um, I would say, like, if I'm totally honest, where I see it evolving, I mean, we've all seen all the modeling, all the IR stuff. Um, the what's the name of the new one from IK Multimedia?
The Tonex.
Yes, the Tonex. I think we're going to see more and more stuff like that, and it's going to be super, super cool. I think it's going to be hard on the little guys, like Rockstock definitely included, from a standpoint of what it takes to develop like something like that is just massive amounts of capital. So I'm curious to see what it does to like the more boutique pedal industry, but at the same time, I'm excited. Like new challenges always create new innovation, and so I think it'll be cool to see what happens.
That's a great way to look at it too, because I think a lot of times we can look at, the rise of AI and these pedals like Tonex and stuff like this, and we can be like, oh my goodness, like we're not going to be needed here in a few years. But at the end of the day, like even with myself doing mixing and mastering and doing production work for individuals and laying down guitar tracks and stuff like that, like there's AI out there that's already doing what I'm doing. And so at first, like your first gut instinct is like, oh no, we're all going to die. Like AI is taking over the world. But then it's like, well, hold on a minute, because like here recently, I did a video about AI mastering versus a mastering that I had done. And I did sort of a blind test and I put it online. And there were some people who picked the AI master, but 80% of the people that watched the video, they all picked my master still. And they were like, I don't know what it is about this one, but it just sounds better to me. Well, at the end of the day, when you have real people behind real products, creating real innovation, not just something that sort of a hive mind AI algorithm has come up with, you're always going to find that human touch, that human inspiration will far outweigh, I think, anything that AI can even try to produce in a fake way. So yeah, it's a good answer, but at the same time, it is still kind of like, because it's getting really like scary good. So
Yeah, it's a scary world. And at the same time, I feel like there's something about human creation that humans are attracted to, right?
right.
And so I think because of that, we're always just going to be drawn to creation created by humans.
Yeah,
Will there be all sorts of new avenues that goes with AI? Absolutely, but I don't know. I just feel like we always adapt, and we always, especially in the context of creatives, the arts, you know, it's always changing, but we're always adapting, and we're coming up with even more exciting ways to express ourselves than we thought was possible previously.
absolutely. Can you share with us any stories or feedback from customers that have influenced your product designs?
Give me just a sec.
Mm-hmm.
I just triggered my Spotify in my ears. It's like, ooh, soft music while we're on a podcast. All right. Yes. So we take feedback like super, super seriously, track everything that's coming through. And I'd say most notably, or rather most recently, what came through was really simple, but just something that didn't cross my mind for so long is, again, we make, with my other company, Coda, we make a stomp page turner pedal. And the way that that works is it pairs with your tablet or your computer, your phone, any Bluetooth device, right? And your phone or your tablet in particular sees the pedal as a keyboard, like your computer keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
So because it sees it as a keyboard, it doesn't launch the virtual keyboard when you go to type something, right?
Oh,
So we had
okay.
to, so for a long time, we had the way that we figured out around this, other products, you just had to turn them off in order to launch the keyboard. So if you wanted to like add some notes to your sheet music in the middle of rehearsal or something, you had to lean down, turn the pedal off, go back up, type in the notes, lean down, turn it back on. We figured out that we could bypass the pedal temporarily by pressing on both switches for to just disconnect the Bluetooth connection so that the virtual keyboard would pop up. Worked great, except It was very much designed by a guitar player, and a lot of non-guitar players aren't thinking the way that we typically do as far as being comfortable tap dancing, if you
Right.
will. And so we would have people that accidentally triggered both switches. And then
Oh,
somebody gave the feedback of like, hey, couldn't you just like have a 1 second delay where you press and hold and then it disconnects? I was like, brilliant. Why didn't we think of that? So we instantly made that change in the firmware. And yeah, it's been great feedback.
awesome. Awesome. And that, yet again, um, I have to say, like, it's been probably, it's probably been like a year and a half ago, not even going to joke, that I reached out to you guys about this pedal in particular. And I'm not sure who I spoke to in email, but when I first got this, my inclination was like not what I thought it was. So when I got it, I was like, oh no, what do I do with this thing? Well, when I reached out on email, it was like immediately got a response back. And the gentleman who emailed me back, it might have even been you. I'm not sure who it was.
Probably Rodrigo. He's my right hand in all things. He's
Awesome.
awesome.
Okay. Well, anyway, he gave me like a whole like best case scenario of how to use this thing, and very detailed, very like on the point. And I was like, holy smokes. And then I realized like I thought that I'd got one thing, but I actually got like several things with this. So kudos to you for that. That's a great product. Another thing that I wanted to add too was, I actually wanted to ask, so are you guys still creating like distortion, overdrive pedals like that, or is it more just the utility pedals now?
Just the utility pedals at the moment. I would like to launch a couple of the pedals that Ryan and Steve designed, particularly their Dark Horse Fuzz, because it's just beautiful. But from a manufacturing standpoint, like keeping that cost effective has just been tricky. And especially coming out of the COVID era, there was just so many supply chain hiccups where I had to
Yeah.
really figure out where am I going to focus, because we can't focus on all things at once. So it's still like in the back of my mind of, man, I really want to launch that Dark Horse Fuzz again. They also made a really, really beautiful reverb called the Skyline Reverb, spring reverb, super lush. But they were designed to be hand wired. And Ryan and Steve built them in a garage. And uh, that's outside of my expertise. I am great at finding other people that are smarter than me and casting a vision to them and working with them to see that vision through. But me actually building hundreds of pedals in my basement, although I have done it. We actually the first 1,000, I think, of those dual switch and tap tempo pedals, my wife and I hand wired in our basement.
Wow.
Um, but long term, that's not quite the route that I want to go with the effects pedal side. So I gotta like totally redesign them before we could launch them to the public again.
Gotcha. Okay. Can you tell us about any upcoming products or projects that you're excited about?
Yes, let me think. So within the next 2 weeks, we'll spill the beans early. Happy to do that with your audience. We're launching a ABY pedal. So it's a line splitter. So it allows you, again, utility based, very simple, but solves a very real need for a lot of people. You can send one input in and two inputs out. So say in the case of you plug your guitar into the input and then you plug into two different amplifiers or two different effects pedal rigs or what have you, or a couple different of the, I keep forgetting IK Media's new pedal.
The
Uh,
Tonex?
Tonex, thank you.
Yeah.
You could plug into two different Tonexes and be swapping between them, right?
Oh,
Or
sweet.
you
Yeah.
could run them both in parallel at the same time. So it will go in one and out two, or reverse. Main use case with that would be, say you're using two guitars while you're performing. You don't want to take the time to be unplugging and plugging another one in. Biggest use case I would say is especially if you're doing like acoustic and electric and you run a combo acoustic and electric rig, then you could have both plugged in all the time and just swap between them with a pedal.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, so we'll be launching that Should be live in about 2 weeks.
Awesome. Okay. I will definitely be hitting you up for one of those as soon as it's live on the website. What do you think, just if you can divulge this information, what do you think the price point on that's going to be? Or do you have an idea?
Yep. Price point should be right around $50.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, they've done it again. That's a really good price point for that too. And as a utility based pedal, that's super cool. In fact, my first initial pedal board video that I had released, I had running through a Tonex and through a Dream 65 by Universal Audio to get that 2 amp sound, and then split it out to like a stereo, ran it through the system at church, and it didn't quite do what I was wanting it to do, which, let's put a pin right there, because I have something that I'd like to share with you after, like off camera, that I think could probably be another great utility pedal for you.
Love it, please.
And I think it's a viable need that everyone is looking for right now too. So we'll keep that under wraps for right now. So, are there any new markets or areas that maybe you're looking to expand into?
So we just expanded to Brazil, which has
Oh,
been
sweet.
really cool. As far as international wise goes. So I mean, technically we sell all over the world if people want to place orders from there. But we don't have a warehouse or anything in the UK. So if you're, as you can imagine, international shipping costs are not cheap. And we don't have the sort of margins to just totally pad that and cover it. So a lot of times we can't afford international expansion, at least in a profitable way for people. But we've been able to partner with just simplest way is just through a variety of programs to be able to have actual inventory in now both Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. So excited about that because we get a surprising amount of orders from Mexico, and I'm thinking Brazil should be similar.
Sweet. Awesome. Nothing like expanding into the outer reaches of the realms of the world there.
Exactly.
And I think with the whole nature of the company itself, that whole utility based feature set that you guys have to offer, yeah, that's universal. It doesn't matter what genre of music you play. It doesn't matter if you're playing in a church or in a bar, you're going to need utility pedals. So that's really cool. Can you share maybe a personal anecdote or maybe an experience that highlights your passion for music and for the pedals that you are building?
Oh man, that's great. Um, yeah. So one thing that I've done with the company over the past few years has been, and I remember we used to talk about this and do this at my old church as well, is to develop core values. And I was going through this exercise with a business coach, and he was trying to understand, like, especially coming from the church world and now being in more of the business world, like figuring out, well, what is core values when we're talking about making guitar pedals, right? And what the coach impressed on me was understanding that it's like ultimately the goal of the core values is to help shape a culture within the company, a culture that you want to be a part of, that you enjoy going to work every day. And so the culture needs to be shaped by you as the founder, the owner, the operator. So who are you and what do you really care about? And so one of the biggest things, like the first core value we decided was growth minded. And it's just the concept of I always want to be pursuing growth, both personally and professionally. That can be listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, trying to learn more. That can be going to the gym. That can be practicing guitar. That can be any number of things. But I never want to get stuck and not move forward. I always want to be growth minded, both professionally and personally.
That's really good. That's really good. And I did actually read through your core values on the website before we actually hopped on here too. And, it's one thing to read some core values on a website, but then to hear the actual person themselves explain sort of the reason behind those core values, it makes a huge difference. So you mentioned that you were involved in leading worship. How does your musical background influence the design and functionality of your pedals?
Yeah, great question. So I think so. Yeah, I've had a really fun musical journey where I've done everything from lead worship for many many years to bar bands and garage bands and punk bands in my earlier days, and spent all over the map. I ran a recording studio in the Bay Area for a while, so I've gotten to see a bit of just about every side, except maybe jazz. I'm terrible at jazz. You should never ask me to
Oh
do that.
yeah, we won't even talk about
Uh,
that.
yeah. But I think the common experience that I had everywhere was just reliability.
Mm,
Whether you're going to play a festival or you're leading worship for a small congregation of 20, like you have this same desire to uh, bring people into an experience with your music. And if gear gets in the way of that, that's a problem.
yeah,
And so I think that's the number one thing I'm thinking through when it comes to our products is the reliability first and foremost. After that, we get into the more like geeky side, the more OCD side of just like I think through product design and product development. I think in such a uh, I don't know the best word. I'll give you an analogy, an example. So I'm left-handed. I play the guitar right-handed, do lots of things right-handed, but I'm left-handed. Most things come naturally to me left-handed, and you realize as a left-handed person over years that like you're living in a right-handed world. That
yeah,
things are just designed for right-handed people. Nothing wrong with that. It's 90% of the population. It should be designed for 90% of the population. But there's little things that I just notice on a regular basis as a left-handed person. So for example, I wish I had a better one than this, but the first one that comes to mind is your pants. The fly is designed for a right hand, not for a left hand.
yeah,
And you adapt very easily, right? But that's kind of caused me to think through products in the same way of just like this has always been done this way, but that doesn't feel like a right-handed sort of thing. Why are we doing it that way? Why don't we design something in a way that really fits, really makes sense? So like an example of that, recently I got a new truck, and I was looking for a truck for quite a while, and I was dead set on a Toyota Tacoma. I have always loved Tacomas. I just feel like they have this like pit bull stance that I just think is awesome. Always wanted a Tacoma. So when the time came that my wife and I said, "All right, we're getting a truck," I went out and looked at Tacomas. Now I test drove one, and it just didn't feel right. Didn't feel like what was in my head. And so I ended up renting one for a week to like really experience it more than you could do in a like 30-minute test drive. And I noticed all these little weird, like what I would call like product product design flaws of, for example, the steering wheel had a volume control, but it was left and right. And then the track control was up and down. In my head, that's backwards.
yeah. That
Volume
doesn't
goes up and down,
right.
tracks go left and right. It's like little details like that. I just kind of get obsessed over. And so it kind of plays out into the products that we design for Coda and Rockstock as well.
That's a great analogy there, and it's stuff like that too that it may not keep everyone from buying a Toyota Tacoma, but it is going to make everyone, like, if they get into another car, they're going to go, wait a minute, I'm lost. Like, what just happened? Your volume button is going up and down now. In my
Yep,
Toyota Tacoma, it's going left and right. Like, what's going on here? So,
exactly. I used to use a similar example when I was leading worship. I'd talk to the team about like we spent some time songwriting, and we talked about like how your lyrics need to actually in many ways reflect what you're singing. So a really easy example is if you were to sing let's lift his name high, you would never say let's lift his name high. You'd always go high, right?
right.
Because there's this mental connection between the note being a higher note and the word that you're saying. So it's kind of similar between songwriting and product development.
Wow, that's a great way to look at it, actually. And yeah, I definitely can attest to that too, because as a songwriter myself, there's been times when maybe there was a chorus or a bridge or something that I'm like, it just doesn't quite feel right. And then I go back and I really look at what I wrote and I'm like, well, that's why it's aesthetic, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. So it's like, wow. So Rob, what's the one piece of gear other than your own that you cannot live without?
Can I not live without? There's just way too many toys, man. Like looking around the room at my pedals. Man. Oh, I mean, ultimately, I'm just an effects pedal junkie. I have like dozens and dozens of pedals off
Right.
screen that you can't see here. I mean, honestly, my favorite go-to is simple and old school. I just love the MXR carbon copy
Oh my goodness.
mixed into an acoustic guitar signal. When I'm leading worship acoustic instead of electric, just dial in just the slightest bit, just adds kind of like this pre-delay fatness to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like that is always on my acoustic rig and always on my electric rig.
Nice. Nice. Well, I have a couple of last questions, and these are my curveball questions.
Oh boy.
And these questions I want you to answer as honestly as possible, but don't overthink it. Now, I have already taken you, as we have discussed various different things here, I've already taken you as quite a creative person, so I don't think this is going to really be that much of a curveball for you. But, Rob, what is your favorite color?
Orange.
Okay, here's the follow-up question. What does the color orange taste like?
Well, often oranges.
Simple answer, right? Nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much for hopping on and for talking about some of your products. And if any of you are looking for some great utility pedals, maybe you're looking for a way to light up your pedal board in a dark area. Maybe you're looking for a nano tuner, which I got to get my hands on next, by the way. That thing is awesome. I need a tuner on my pedal board. If you're looking for a utility pedal that can bank up, bank down, be a tap tempo, pretty much be anything you need it to be, get the dual switch. They have some awesome products to offer. And in fact, they're releasing some more products that they just actually released here on the podcast for us. Thank you so much for doing that. So, Rob, thank you so much for hopping on today, and I appreciate your time, man.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I lost you for a second. Yeah, thank you so much, Robert, for your time. It was fun chatting, and if it's cool, I'd love to actually just give an offer for your audience. If anybody wants to go to the website and get 15% off, do you have like a go-to promo code you'd like them to use?
Sure. You could use HSS 15.
There we go. So we'll have that live within the next couple of days, and yeah, anything that comes through that link, get you 15% off.
Sweet. Thanks for that, man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, blessings.
Take care.